In the 5th year of their marriage, Linwood Kristen led a team to Antarctica for scientific research, but accidentally fell into the sea and his body was never found. On the day the relics were sent back to Melton, I fainted from crying in the morning hall with my 8-month pregnant belly. Excessive grief led to premature birth, and after the cesarean section, I ignored everyone's advice. I insisted on leaving the child to my eldest uncle and aunt who had come from abroad to attend the funeral and went to Antarctica alone. In order to find Linwood's body, I jumped into the freezing cold sea again and again. 3 months later, I returned home due to serious injuries and was horrified to find that my son's body was covered with needle holes. I was holding him and preparing to rush to the hospital. I unexpectedly overheard the conversation between my mother-in-law and my eldest uncle. "You faked your own death to deceive Jacqueline for a female pirate, and now you want to drain your own son's blood for her child. That's your own flesh and blood. Are you crazy?" Linwood sighed. "Ruth was defiled because of me. Even if it means sacrificing my own flesh and blood, I will save her child. After the child recovers, I will send Ruth away. As for Jacqueline, I will let her adopt the child as a way to make up for her pain of losing her child." I looked at my dying son trembling all over, tears falling uncontrollably. It turned out that my husband was not dead and all this was deliberately done by him to plot against me and my child. In this case, I would return him a fake death. From that moment on, we were so far apart that we would never see each other again in this life. I held the baby tightly in my arms and stumbled back to the nursery. After closing the door, my legs went weak and I fell to the ground. The emotions that I had been holding on to for months completely collapsed at this moment. My fingertips trembled as they moved across my scarred body and I covered my mouth and cried out in pain. In order to find Linwood's body, I jumped into the sea full of floating ice regardless of the danger. Every time, I would wait until the oxygen was completely exhausted before leaving. Every inch of his skin was scratched by the broken ice and was bleeding, and even his lungs were severely injured. After jumping into the sea for the 99th time, I was in a coma for 3 whole days and the blood I vomited dyed the entire bedsheet red. When I was forced to return home, I grabbed the doctor with resentment in my eyes and begged him to let me try again. But it was not until that day that I realized that it was not because I was useless that I could not find the body, but that my husband was not dead at all. He just faked his death to deceive me for another woman. All the hardships I had endured were nothing but a joke in his eyes, and our child had become tools from the moment he was born. In a trance, I recalled that when I had just found out about my pregnancy, he also knelt in front of me with eyes full of longing. He solemnly promised to protect us mother and son for the rest of our lives. But I could never have imagined that he would be so cruel as to let his 3-month-old child serve as a blood bag. Looking at my son's bloodless face, I felt as if I was pierced by thousands of arrows and was in extreme pain. I felt sharp pain in my lungs and I could not hold it back, so I vomited a mouthful of blood. When I was in a state of confusion, the door was suddenly pushed open. Standing outside the door was my uncle, a man with a worried look on his face. To be more precise, it was Linwood who pretended to be my uncle. After seeing my mouth full of blood, he hurriedly looked for a tissue. He squatted in front of me and wiped the blood off my face bit by bit without any disgust. There was also unconcealable heartache in his tone. "Jacqueline, the doctor told you to stay in bed and rest. Why are you so disobedient and secretly crying until you vomit blood? I know that you cannot accept Linwood's death for the time being, but he will surely be heartbroken if you don't take care of your body." His eyes were full of concern, but his words were trying to distance himself from me. The child was only 3 months old and it was extremely abnormal for him not to cry or make a fuss. At this moment, he was lying in my arms with a pale face, but he never looked at the child from beginning to end. When I thought about the day when he just returned home, he would get nervous as if facing a great enemy whenever Ruth's child pouted. I was so devastated that I wanted to take my child away immediately, but my body was already at the end of its strength and even walking a few more steps would make me so weak that I was covered in cold sweats. After thinking it over again and again, I suppressed the pain in my heart and forced a smile at him. Nothing, I was just too worried about the child and wanted to come and see him. Linwood breathed a sigh of relief and skillfully took the child from my hands, but he did not even bother to take a look at it and just threw it into the crib. "Jacqueline, don't worry. Linwood is my biological brother and Noel is his only blood relative. I will definitely treat him like my own." Looking at my son's face wrinkled in pain, I could not hold it back any longer, raised my tearful eyes and asked with a trembling voice, "Is Linwood really dead? Or are you Linwood and you just pretended to be my uncle to deceive me?" The air seemed to freeze in an instant and it was extremely quiet. After a long silence, the uncle smiled perfunctorily and asked, "Jacqueline, are you sick and confused? Linwood has been dead for more than 3 months. I am your uncle, how could I lie to you?" I looked up at his pretending to be sincere and felt a chill all over my body. Obviously, he had the same facial features as Linwood, even twins could not be so similar. It was not like I did not have doubts, but every time I see him and Ruth being so affectionate, I could only suppress the emotions surging in my heart. I could not forget how deeply Linwood loved me. Naturally, I would not believe that he would treat other women with the same love. But that time, the flash of guilt and remorse in his eyes made me realize it very clearly. The man who called himself my uncle was the husband I had been thinking about day and night. Tears fell silently and I could not help but want to ask him why he betrayed me. But when the words came to my lips, I was interrupted by the weak cry of the child. I looked sharply toward the crib. Only then did I notice that a strange blush appeared on Noel's face. I placed my shaking hands on his forehead, but the moment I touched him, I could not help but scream, "It's so hot, Linwood, please save our child." I cried so hard that I was incoherent and Linwood was so panicked that he did not know what to do. "Jacqueline, don't worry. I'll go to the hospital with you now." I stumbled after him and prepared to go out, but Ruth was holding a pregnancy test stick and standing in front of us with a shy look on her face as she said, "Honey, I think I'm pregnant. You can be a father again." Linwood pushed me away, picked up Ruth in ecstasy and walked towards the bedroom. You just got pregnant. If you don't lie down in bed and rest, what if you hurt the baby in your belly? The look on his face was one I knew all too well. When he first learned that I was pregnant, he was also so excited and restrained. I bit my lips tightly and swallowed the blood in my mouth. When he passed by me, he looked at me with an apologetic look on his face when he said, "Jacqueline, your aunt is pregnant. I have to stay and take care of her. I will arrange for someone to take you to the hospital. I will come to see you and the child when I am free." I pretended not to notice the flash of defiance across Ruth's face. She just hugged the child silently, turned around and left without looking back. I stepped out of the door, could not hold back the tears that were gushing out. After 5 years of marriage, we had always been very loving. But at that moment, he even had a child with another woman. I was completely limp and let the driver help me to the back seat. The moment the car started, I looked up at the place where Linwood and I used to live. Since the love was gone, there was no need for me to be trapped in the same place. I suppressed the sadness in my heart, took out my mobile phone and opened an email that had been sealed for a long time. The night before Linwood's accident, my childhood friend, whom I had not contacted for many years, sent me an email asking if I would like to participate in a 5-year top-secret project. I was hesitant at first and did not respond. That time it had become the best opportunity for me to escape from it all. Just a few seconds after I sent the confirmation message, I received his reply, "I will send someone to assist you immediately. In 3 days, your current identity will completely disappear. Have you thought it through?" I replied with just one word, "Okay." After arriving at the hospital, I held the child in my arms and went through all the examinations by myself. Noel suffered organ failure due to excessive blood loss. Fortunately, he was sent to the hospital in time and after treatment, the doctor barely managed to save his life. I waited until 2 in the morning before I rushed home holding him in my arms in a daze. But as soon as I opened the door of the villa, I heard a groan coming from the main bedroom. Looking through the half-open door, my eyes widened instantly. I had never seen Linwood so crazy. In the 5 years of our marriage, he had always treated every action with me as a routine, trying his best to restrain himself. But that moment, there were the constant banging sounds and the groans that he could not control. They were like a sharp blade, completely crushing my heart. I collapsed on the ground and looked at them masochistically. Not until everything had calmed down did Linwood step out of the room with a satisfied look on his face. The next moment, his panicked voice exploded in my ears, "Jacqueline, when are you back? You saw everything that just happened?" I closed my eyes numbly and let the tears fall. When I opened my eyes again, I keenly noticed the guilt flashing in his eyes. But soon, he regained his calm and composed appearance. "Jacqueline, why are you crying again? Is it us who made you miss your son? It's my fault. I should not have let you see this. We will be more careful in the future." He sighed and reached out his hand to help me up. I stared blankly at the man in front of me whom I had loved for many years. It took 8 years from dating to marriage. I thought I could leave decisively, but I found out that I could not do it until that day. After 8 years of knowing and accompanying each other, loving him had almost become an instinct for me. When I thought about the fact that our child was still so young and would completely lose the opportunity to feel fatherly love because of my decision, I could not help but waver. After taking a deep breath, I reached out my hand to Linwood with trembling hands. "Can you stay with me for one night? I have something to tell you." Before I finished speaking, Ruth's coquettish voice came from the room. "Hubby, I want more. Why don't you come in and accompany me?" Linwood suddenly let go of my hand. I did not have time to react and fell straight to the ground.